I love seeing the new games, crossing my fingers for my favorites to return, hoping for a few surprises. We've traveled the worlds of Elder Scrolls, and now we're creating a new universe.
The 10th anniversary of Skyrim is coming closer and closer, but the release date for the next main Elder Scrolls game is nowhere in sight. How can we pass the time between now and the launch of a new Elder Scrolls game? Let's take the Bethesda approach and milk Skyrim for all it's worth. Here's how you can make Skyrim fun again, or at least interesting enough for a new playthrough. Did you know that Skyrim is officially an RPG, and that RPG stands for Rambunctious Portrayal of Gematogenesis? I mean role-playing game. However, Skyrim is pretty linear, and by default there are not many ways the game forces you to actually take on a role. Oftentimes you'll probably just project yourself into the game and make decisions based on what you would do. In most cases you will probably just end up playing a stealth archer, like you did for all of your past 5 playthroughs. You can spice your next playthrough up with roleplaying. To get started, pick a race, invent a backstory for your character and try to play the game while doing and avoiding things that will make sense for that character and the world of Skyrim. To help you get in the swing of things, here are a few character ideas that I have made up specifically for this video. Growing up an orphan in Riften, life was not always easy for the Bjorn, for he was the product of a short-lived union between a soldier in the Stormcloak army and a female apprentice of the Thieves Guild. After his father was slain on the battlefield and his mother developed a nasty dependency on skooma, and to cope with that loss, care for Bjorn was taken away from his mother by force. The last day Bjorn saw his mother, she gave him an enchanted ring that used to belong to his father. She said that the use of the ring shall reveal itself when it's most urgent. After that encounter, Bjorn's mother was never seen again. Bjorn was never adopted. Having nowhere to go, Bjorn survived by sleeping on the streets of Riften and stealing money. One day, he runs into Brynjolf of the Thieves Guild, who recognizes him because he has his mother's eyes, and he decides to take him in as an apprentice. Having trouble following the law, Bjorn is a stealthy thief who prefers to stay out of sight, but has a dagger ready for anyone that dares to get too close. When Riften was attacked by a dragon, the ring that he was gifted by his mother vibrated and compelled him to grab the bow of a fallen guard's body. Never having shot a bow before, he found his mark with each shot and discovered that he was the Dragonborn. The ring improved his archery above what was thought humanly possible. That day signified the start of his journey as a stealth archer. This timid Argonian, hailing from a family of ex-slaves before slavery was outlawed, was forced to leave her humble home in Black March after it was burned down by dark elf bandits from Morrowind. It is rumored that the reason her house was targeted stems from revenge. Her family's involvement with the Ankh-Selil in the invasion of Morrowind at the start of the 4th era, ironically in the name of revenge for the years of slavery, was never forgotten, not even 200 years later. Laser Axe, saddened by the seemingly never-ending vicious cycle of revenge, decided that her life was more to her than her homeland, and traded the gloomy swamps of Blackmarch in for the dogs of Windhelm, where she is forced to coexist with the same people that took away her old life. Skilled in alchemy and an intermediate in healing magic, Laser Axe prefers not to fight, but will do so if given no other option. She was now given an option on the day she found out she was the last Dragonborn. But she couldn't get close enough to the dragon, so she became a stealth archer. Silus Demetrius is the youngest of 6 sons from a wealthy family living in the Imperial City, and therefore 6th in line to inherit the family vineyard, the source of the family fortune. Oftentimes he was mistreated by his brothers, who treated him as the lowest of the Demetriuses. Nevertheless, his family's wealth secured Silus a good education. He was taught of the history of the Empire. His young mind, not yet fully shapen and open to the power of suggestion, Silus was convinced that the Empire was the best thing that ever could have happened to Tamriel. Silus was also taught in the way of the sword and shield, as it is not uncommon for a member of House Demetrius to be assaulted under the pretense that they had access to the family's fortune. Being the 6th in line to inherit the family's business, Silus tends to overcompensate and is obsessed with bringing honor to his family's name in any way he can. He secretly dreamt of fighting in an arena and using his sword and shield to climb to the top. At least there he would have a chance. But he was forbidden from doing so, as it is considered dirty grunt work, unbecoming of a nobleman. Not seeing a future in the Imperial City, Silus leaves home and travels, embracing a simple life on the road. Hearing of the tumultuous conflict that is brewing between the Stormcloaks and the Imperial Army in Skyrim, this Imperial patriot travels to Skyrim in hopes of enlisting in the Imperial Army. However, he gets caught in an Imperial ambush, after which he is forced to share a guard ride with the Stormcloaks, whom he considers scum of the earth. Having been on the road for several weeks, his clothes are tattered. Therefore, the Imperials do not believe his claim that he is part of the prestigious Demetrius family and sentence him to die. Silus escapes with the help of a dragon and Raylof, a member of the Stormcloak Rebellion. After he successfully escapes Helgen, Silus is conflicted. He was sentenced to die by the Empire that he revered all his life, yet he was saved by someone who he would have considered his mortal enemy earlier this morning. He starts to wonder if his fondness towards the Empire is based upon fallacies and if his black and white thinking should have been more grey all along. Specializing in speech, one-handed swordsmanship and shield usage, Silus knows that he will bring honor to his family and he knows he has a part to play in the war. He just doesn't know what part that will be. Then one day he finds a bow that has better stats than his sword and he becomes a stealth archer. Daughter of 2 Thalmor agents, Ildilyntra Eluna, affectionately named Luna, grew up in the Somerset Isles, but was forced to move all over the continent in her adolescence as a result of her parents' position. A bit of a social outcast, Luna was more concerned with mastering spells than making friends. Either out of spite or out of sheer jealousy, her peers treated her badly. They made fun of her appearance and her preoccupation with magic. As a high elf, she was teased for her length and pointy ears. She did not seem to mind the loneliness, seizing and ostracism, as it gave her more time to spend on spellcasting, her one true passion. Deemed a prodigy of destruction magic and being a daughter of high-ranking Thalmor agents, Luna is sent to Skyrim to serve as Ancana's assistant at the Mages College. She feels accepted at the college, something she has never felt in her life before. She is revered for her natural grasp of magic and admired for the things that ostracized her. Her talents, finally, became an asset. As Luna learns of Ancana's bad intentions, she is determined to put a stop to him and she is willing to fight for the survival of the college. Ancana, met with power, has other plans in mind. Even still, Ancana is no match for the prodigal high elf and she ends up as archmage of the college. Specializing in destruction magic and enchantment, Luna prefers not to engage in conversation and considers magic an art rather than a weapon. Her story picks up when one day she comes across a strange tome. That tome is bound bow, from which point on she becomes a stealth archer. Bror Golham uses two-handed axes to split the skull of anyone brave enough to anger him or enter his swamp unannounced. After being exiled for sleeping with the chieftain's wives,
alright, we've all seen enough.
He found a swamp which he now proudly calls home. To better pick off trespassers in the swamp from a distance, he becomes a stealth archer.